The Teeth in My Brother's Freezer. Chapter 1. The Call That Changed Everything. The rain hammered against my apartment window with the persistence of skeletal fingers tapping on glass. 3 in the morning, and sleep remained as elusive as my brother had been for the past 6 years. 6 years of silence. 6 years of unanswered questions. 6 years since David had simply vanished from my life without explanation, without goodbye, without even the courtesy of a fight to mark the end. My phone buzzed on the nightstand, its blue light cutting through the darkness like a blade. Unknown number. My thumb hovered over the decline button, but something, call it instinct, call it the peculiar magnetism of 3 a.m. mysteries, made me answer. Mr. Chen, Mr. Marcus Chen. The voice was elderly, trembling with either age or fear. Perhaps both. Yes, that's me. I'm Walter Garrison, your brother's landlord. I apologize for calling at this ungodly hour, but I didn't know who else to contact. It's about David. My spine straightened. After 6 years of nothing, hearing his name spoken aloud felt like touching a live wire. What about him? He hasn't been seen in over a month. The rent still arrives like clockwork, direct deposit, never a day late, but the neighbours are complaining about smells and sounds. I went to check yesterday, but the old man's voice cracked. I couldn't bring myself to go inside. There's something wrong with that house, Mr. Chen. Something terribly wrong. I was already pulling on my jeans, wedging the phone between my shoulder and ear. What kind of sounds? Like chewing, but not normal chewing, wet, deliberate, and it only happens at night. The rational part of my brain offered explanations, rats perhaps, or raccoons that had found their way inside. But the primitive part, the part that still remembered being afraid of the dark, knew better. It knew that some sounds couldn't be explained away. Text me the address. I'll be there within the hour. Mr. Chen, wait. But I'd already hung up. As I drove through the rain-slicked streets, memories surfaced unbidden. David and I as kids playing hide and seek in our grandmother's sprawling Victorian house. David was always better at hiding, could fold himself into impossible spaces, could hold his breath until I was certain he'd disappeared entirely. Once I'd found him in the freezer in the basement, lips, blue frost in his eyelashes, grinning like he'd discovered the secret to immortality. Doesn't it hurt? I'd asked. Only at first, he'd replied. Then you go numb, then you go somewhere else. I should have paid more attention to the somewhere else. Chapter 2. The House on Marsh Street. The GPS led me to a neighbourhood I didn't recognise, one of those forgotten pockets of the city where urban planning had given up and decay had moved in as a permanent resident. David's house squatted at the end of Marsh Street like a cancerous growth, a 2-story colonial that had seen better decades, its paint peeling away in sheets that resembled diseased skin. Walter Garrison waited by the gate, a human question mark hunched against the rain. He was smaller than his voice had suggested, wearing a raincoat that had probably been yellow once, but was now the colour of old teeth. His hands shook as he handed me a ring of keys. I haven't been inside in 2 months, he admitted. Not since I came to fix the water heater and found... He trailed off, eyes darting to the dark windows of the house. Found what? Scratches, deep ones, all along the basement door, from the inside. He pulled his raincoat tighter, like something was trying to claw its way out. I wanted to laugh, to dismiss him as a paranoid old man, but the keys felt unnaturally cold in my hand. You can wait in your car if you want. He didn't need to be told twice. The front door opened with a groan that seemed to come from the house itself, rather than the hinges. The smell hit me immediately. Not just decay, but something chemical underneath it, like formaldehyde mixed with copper, and something else, something organic and wrong. I fumbled for the light switch, and a single bulb flickered to life, casting everything in a sickly yellow glow that made the shadows seem alive. The living room was wrong, not messy. David had always been obsessively neat, but wrong. in a way that made my skin crawl. The furniture was arranged in a perfect circle facing inward, like some kind of ritual setup. In the centre sat a single dining chair with leather straps attached to the arms and legs. The leather was stained dark. On the walls, someone had hammered hundreds of nails in seemingly random patterns. No, not random. As my eyes adjusted, I could see they formed shapes, symbols, or letters in a language I didn't recognize. Some of the nails had things hanging from them, small things, pale things. I stepped closer and my stomach lurched. Teeth, human teeth strung on fishing line like the world's most disturbing wind chimes. But it was the photos that made me stagger backward. Polaroids, dozens of them tacked between the nails. All of them showed David, but not the David I remembered. This David was gaunt, his cheeks hollow, his eyes reflecting the camera flash like an animal's. In each photo, he was smiling that same childhood grin, but now it stretched too wide, showed too many teeth, and he wasn't alone in the photos. Chapter 3. What Lies Beneath. My hands trembled as I examined the Polaroids more closely. The other figures in the photos were incomplete. That was the only word for it. Some were missing faces, the skin peeled away with surgical precision. Others had limbs bent at impossible angles, joints, reversed bones protruding through tears in the flesh like broken branches. But they were all posed, carefully, artfully, like David was creating some kind of sick tableau, a family portrait painted in meat and suffering. In one photo, a woman, or what remained of her, was positioned at a dinner table, empty sockets staring at a plate of something I didn't want to identify. David sat across from her, raising a wine glass in a mock toast. The wine was too dark, too thick. Thunder crashed outside, and I nearly dropped the photos. My heart hammered against my ribs as I forced myself to look away to focus on why I was here. David. I needed to find David, or at least find out what had happened to him. The kitchen was eerily clean surfaces scrubbed until they gleamed. The only thing out of place was a notebook on the counter filled with David's meticulous handwriting. I recognized it immediately. He'd always had perfect penmanship, each letter formed with obsessive care. The entries started normally enough. Day 1. The transformation begins. I can already feel the changes. My teeth ache. Day 3. Lost another molar today. The new ones are growing in nicely, sharper, better designed. Day 7. Marcus called again. I didn't answer. He wouldn't understand. Not yet. As I flipped through the pages, the writing became increasingly erratic. Day 19. The hunger is unbearable. Regular food tastes like ash. I know what I need, but the moral barriers are still too strong. Must push through. Must evolve. Day 26, first successful feeding. The euphoria is indescribable. Every cell in my body singing. This is what we were meant to be. Day 41, they're starting to pile up. Need better storage solution. The basement freezer should work. Must preserve the good parts. Waste not want. Not, as Mum used to say. My hand shook as I reached the final entry. Day 98. Marcus will come eventually. He always was the curious one. I've prepared everything for him. The spare key is behind the meter, just like when we were kids. He'll remember. And when he does, when he finally sees what I've become, what we can become together. Family reunion at last. The notebook slipped from my numb fingers. The spare key. He'd mentioned it in the journal, and I'd remembered, just like he knew I would. This wasn't a coincidence. This was an invitation. A soft humming came from somewhere deeper in the house. A children's song one our mother used to sing to us, but the voice was wrong, too low, too wet, like someone gargling while they sang. Every instinct screamed at me to run to get back in my car and drive until I hit ocean. Instead, I found myself moving toward the sound drawn by the terrible gravity of needing to know. Chapter 4, The Descent. The humming led me to a door I hadn't noticed before, painted the same faded white as the walls. It was barely visible except for the handle, which was polished to a mirror shine from frequent use. The door opened to reveal stairs descending into darkness, so thick it seemed solid. I found a flashlight in a kitchen drawer, of course. David had left it exactly where I'd need it, and began my descent. Each step groaned under my weight, and the humming grew louder, accompanied now by other sounds, dripping, scraping, and underneath it all a rhythmic thumping like a massive heart. The basement was larger than should have been possible given the house's footprint. The walls were lined with industrial shelving units, each shelf holding mason jars filled with murky liquid. Labels in David's handwriting identified the contents: Thompson R, Liver, Martinez S, eyes left and right, unknown female free, tongue. But it was the freezer that dominated the space. Not a normal household freezer, but a massive commercial unit, the kind restaurants use. Padlocked, just as the old man's story had described. The humming was coming from inside it. No, that wasn't right. The humming was coming from behind it. I approached slowly, flashlight beam wavering. The freezer had been pulled away from the wall, revealing a hole that had been sledgehammered through the concrete. Beyond was another room, one that shouldn't exist, couldn't exist according to any blueprint or survey. The smell rolling out of that darkness was indescribable. Copper and ozone and something else. Something that bypassed my nose entirely and spoke directly to the primitive parts of my brain that remembered when humans were prey. I should have run. Every fibre of my being was screaming warnings, flooding my system with adrenaline begging me to flee. But I'd come this far. I'd waited 6 years for answers. I couldn't leave without them. I squeezed through the hole. Chapter 5, The Collection. The hidden room was a cathedral of horror. The walls stretched up into darkness, every inch covered with more Polaroids, thousands of them, creating a mosaic of mutilation. But these were older, some so faded they were barely visible. How long had David been doing this? In the centre of the room stood a figure. "Hello, Marcus." David's voice, but not from the figure. From everywhere, from the walls themselves. I spun around flashlight beam, dancing wildly. "David, where are you?" "I'm right here, brother. I've always been here." The figure in the centre moved, and I realised with dawning horror that it wasn't a statue or mannequin. It was David, or what David had become. He was naked, his skin pale as cave fish, stretched tight over a frame that had somehow elongated. His spine curved in ways that made my eyes water to follow. But it was his mouth that made me stagger backward. His jaw had unhinged like a snake's, revealing row after row of teeth that spiraled down his throat into darkness. "Do you like what I've become?" His voice came from that impossible mouth without his lips moving. It took so much work, so much raw material. "David, what? What did you do to yourself?" "I evolved." He took a step toward me, joints bending in too many places. "Do you remember when we were kids, when I'd hide in the freezer? I wasn't just hiding, Marcus. I was listening. To the cold. To what lives in the spaces between molecules. It told me secrets. Showed me what we really are underneath all this pretense of civilization." Another step. The smell of him was overwhelming meat left in the sun chemicals that burned my sinuses. The teeth were the first to change. Human teeth are so poorly designed, don't you think? Made for grinding plants and soft meat. But we're not meant for that. We're meant for more. I backed against the wall, Polaroids crinkling under my hands. The people in the photos, ingredients. His head tilted at an angle that would have snapped a normal neck. You can't make an omelette without breaking a few eggs. Can't evolve without raw material. Each one taught me something. Each one became part of something greater. "You're insane." "Am I?" He laughed, a sound like bones breaking. "I've transcended every limitation of our pathetic species. I don't age, I don't tire, I don't feel pain. All it cost was everything that made me weak, everything that made me human." The flashlight flickered, and in the moment of darkness, he moved. When the light steadied, he was inches from my face, and I could see the fine details of his transformation. His skin wasn't just pale, it was translucent, showing the dark network of veins beneath. Things moved under the surface, writhing like worms. But I'm lonely, Marcus. His breath smelled like a slaughterhouse in summer. Being the only one of your kind is such a burden. That's why I left the key. That's why I made sure the landlord would call you. Family should be together. I'm not, I would never. Oh, but you would. His hand shot out faster than my eyes could follow, gripping my wrist with fingers that had too many joints. It's already started. The moment you breathe the air in this house, the spores are in your lungs now, changing you, cell by cell. I tried to pull away, but his grip was iron, no stronger than iron, like the bones themselves had been replaced with something harder. I've prepared everything. Your first meal is in the freezer, fresh, still warm. You'll resist at first, I did too. But when the hunger comes, and it will come, you'll understand. You'll thank me. Chapter 6. The Hunger. I wrenched free from David's grip, leaving skin behind, and ran. Up the stairs, through the house, past the circle of furniture, and the teeth wind chimes and those horrible photos. Behind me, David's laughter echoed, not the sound of a human, but something pretending to remember how laughter worked. You can't run from what's inside you, Marcus. It's already begun. I burst out the front door to find Walter Garrison's car, gone only tyre tracks in the mud showing he'd ever been there. My own car waited, keys still in the ignition. I drove like a madman, checking the rearview mirror, constantly expecting to see David's elongated form pursuing me. But the road remained empty except for rain and shadows. It wasn't until I was halfway home that I noticed the taste in my mouth. Copper. I'd bitten my tongue in fear hard enough to draw blood. But instead of pain, there was something else. Pleasure. The blood tasted good. Better than good. It tasted like coming home. I pulled over and vomited on the side of the highway, but the blood came up mixed with something else. Small white objects that clinked against the asphalt. Under the streetlight, I could see what they were. Teeth. My teeth. 3 molars, their roots bloody and fresh. I ran my tongue over my gums and felt the spaces where they'd been. But I also felt something else. New growths. Sharp. Pushing through the flesh like eager seedlings. David had been telling the truth. It had already begun. Chapter 7. Transformation. I made it home just as dawn was breaking, my mouth full of blood and new teeth. The mirror in my bathroom showed a face I barely recognized. Pale, dark circles under eyes that seemed to reflect light differently. I prodded the new teeth with my tongue. They were sharp as surgical instruments, arranged in neat rows that my human jaw shouldn't have been able to accommodate. My phone had 17 missed calls, all from unknown numbers. I played the first voicemail. Marcus. David's voice calm and patient. I know you're scared. I was too, but fighting it only makes it worse. Come back. Let me help you through the change. I deleted it, played the next. The hunger will start soon, within 48 hours. You'll try to eat normal food, but it will taste like ash. Your body knows what it needs. Don't make it suffer. Delete. Next. Mom would have wanted us to be together. Did you know she went through this too? Where do you think I learned it? It's in our blood, Marcus. Our inheritance. My hand shook so badly, I dropped the phone. Mom Sweet church-going PTA president, Mum. The woman who baked cookies for every school event and cried at Hallmark commercials. But even as I rejected the idea, memories surfaced. Mum's mysterious illnesses that kept her in the basement for days. The locks on the freezer that she said were to keep raccoons out. The way she'd sometimes look at Dad when she thought no one was watching, not with love, but with the calculated gaze of a predator sizing up prey. The hunger hit me that evening like a physical blow. I'd tried to eat soup crackers, anything bland, but David had been right. Everything tasted like ash and chemicals. My body rejected it violently, and I spent hours hunched over the toilet, bringing up everything along with more teeth. The old ones were falling out faster now, making room for the new. By the second day, I was delirious. The hunger had evolved from discomfort to agony, a burning that started in my stomach and radiated outward until every cell screamed for sustenance. I found myself at the grocery store, standing in the meat section, saliva flooding my mouth. But even the raw steaks looked wrong. Too old, too dead. I needed something fresh, something that still remembered being alive. That's when I saw her, a jogger passing by the store window, ponytail swinging, pulse visible in her throat. My new teeth ached. My hands pressed against the glass, leaving prints that were too long, too jointed. I ran, drove home and locked myself in nailing boards over the windows, like I was keeping something out, but I was trying to keep something in, me, or what I was becoming. Chapter 8. The Visitor. On the third day she arrived. I heard the knock through my delirium, 3 short, 2 long, a pattern I recognized from childhood. When I peered through the peephole, I saw a woman in a crisp business suit, clipboard in hand, smile too wide for her face. Mr. Chen, I'm from Family Services. Your brother called, said you might need some assistance. I didn't open the door. Couldn't. My hands had started to change fingers, stretching, new joints forming. They clicked against the doorknob like typewriter keys. I don't need help, I croaked through the door. My voice sounded wrong, like I was speaking through water. Oh, but you do. Her smile never wavered. The hunger must be unbearable by now. Your brother wants to help. Your mother would have wanted us to help. My mother is dead. Is she? The woman tilted her head, and I noticed her neck was too long, too flexible. Death is such a limiting concept. She simply transformed, evolved, spread herself into new vessels, just as you're doing now. She pressed something against the door. A Polaroid slipped through the mail slot. I picked it up with trembling fingers. It was recent, impossibly recent. It showed my mother or something wearing her face standing in David's basement. Her mouth was open in that same snake jaw, unhinging rows of teeth spiraling into darkness. But her eyes were still Mum's, still full of that terrible love. She's waiting for you, the woman said. They both are. The family reunion David promised. All you have to do is feed. Just once. Cross that line and everything becomes clear. I won't become like them. But darling, she laughed, a sound like breaking glass. You already are. Look at yourself. Really look. I stumbled to the bathroom mirror and immediately wished I hadn't. The thing staring back wasn't me anymore. My face had elongated cheekbones, pushing against skin that had gone translucent. I could see things moving beneath not veins or muscle, but something else, something that writhed with its own intelligence. When I returned to the door, the woman was gone. But she'd left something else through the mail slot. A package wrapped in butcher paper, still warm, still dripping. The smell of it made my new teeth ache. Chapter 9. The Choice. I lasted another day. One more day of agony of my body consuming itself, of transformations that made me understand why David had screamed those nights in the basement when we were kids. I'd thought he was having nightmares. Now I knew he was becoming one. The package sat on my kitchen counter, blood pooling beneath it. I didn't need to open it to know what was inside. The smell told me everything. Fresh, human, prepared with care by someone who understood exactly what my changing body craved. My phone rang, David again. This time I answered. It hurts, I whispered. I know, but pain is just transformation. Birth hurts too. So does growth. You're being born into something beautiful, Marcus. I don't want this. None of us do at first. But want and need are different things. You need this. It's in our DNA, our inheritance. Mom tried to protect us from it, tried to raise us normal, but normal was never an option for our family. There has to be another way. There is. His voice was gentle now, almost kind. You can die. The old you, the human, you can simply stop. But what emerges will be magnificent. I've seen it, Marcus. I've seen what we become when we stop pretending to be prey. I looked at my hands, too long now. 2 jointed nails become claws. My spine had started to curve, vertebrae multiplying, giving me a flexibility that hurt to explore. I was changing whether I fed or not. The only choice was whether I'd survive it. If I do this, what happens? You come home. We finish your transformation properly. Together. Family like we always should have been. The hunger rose in me like a tide, and for a moment I almost reached for the package, almost tore it open and gave in to what my body screamed for. But something held me back. Not morality, that was a luxury I could no longer afford. It was a different thought entirely. If I was going to become a monster, I'd do it on my terms. Chapter 10. The Hunt. I didn't open David's package. Instead, I went hunting. The city at night looked different through my transformed eyes. I could see heat signatures through walls, hear heartbeats from blocks away, smell the copper tang of blood beneath skin. Every human was outlined in neon possibility, walking meals unaware of the predator in their midst. But I wasn't looking for just anyone. I found him in a bar downtown, the kind of place where cash was king and nobody asked questions. He was in a corner booth making a deal that involved small packets and large bills. When he grabbed the waitress hard enough to leave bruises because she wouldn't give him her number, I knew I'd found my meal. I waited until he left, following him to the parking garage. He never saw me coming. How could he? I moved in ways humans couldn't track, folding through shadows, climbing walls, with fingers that had developed tiny hooks. When I took him, it was quick, merciful even, more than he'd given his victims according to the wallet full of driver's licenses I found in his pocket. All women, all reported missing. The first bite was ecstasy. David had been right. My body knew exactly what it needed. Every cell sang as I fed, as I took in not just flesh, but something deeper. Essence, life force, whatever spark separated the living from the dead. But I was careful, controlled. I took only what I needed, left the rest somewhere it would be found. Let the authorities puzzle over the surgical precision, the missing organs, the teeth marks that didn't match any known animal. I was becoming something new. Not David's kind of monster, but my own. Chapter 11. Evolution. The transformation accelerated after that first feeding. My spine lengthened, giving me a fluid grace that was both beautiful and terrible. My skin developed a chameleon-like quality, shifting to match surroundings. The new teeth settled into patterns that made eating efficiency an art form. But more than the physical changes, I felt my mind expanding. I could sense things beyond human perception. The electromagnetic fields around living creatures, the pheromone trails of emotion, the quantum probability clouds of potential futures. David called nightly, his voice a mixture of pride and frustration. "You're doing it wrong," he'd say. "Taking criminals, leaving evidence. You're still thinking like a human. Maybe that's the point. You can't have it both ways, Marcus. You can't be predator and protector. The universe doesn't work that way." But I was proving him wrong. Each night I hunted. Each night I chose carefully. The city's missing persons reports showed a strange pattern. Drug dealers, human traffickers, those who hurt children. The police were baffled. The media spoke of a vigilante. If only they knew their vigilante had rows of teeth like a shark and could taste guilt in blood. On the 14th night after my transformation began, I found myself outside David's house again. I could smell him inside, along with others. Mum's scent was there too, impossible as that seemed. And others' family I'd never known existed, all carrying that same wrong smell of transformation. I climbed the wall like a spider peered through a window. The scene inside was a perverse mockery of Thanksgiving dinner. Figures that had once been human sat around a table laden with things I didn't want to identify. David was at the head still in his elongated form. Mum, or the thing wearing her face, sat to his right. They were waiting for me. The empty chair at the table made that clear. Chapter 12. family reunion. I entered through the front door this time. No sneaking, no fear. I was no longer the frightened human who'd fled 2 weeks ago. I was something else now, something that could meet them as an equal. Marcus. Mum's voice was exactly as I remembered, warm and welcoming, even coming from a mouth that opened too wide. We've been waiting for you. The others at the table turned to look at me, aunts and uncles I'd thought dead cousins, who'd moved away and never visited, all transformed, all wrong, all family. You're just in time, David said, gesturing to the empty chair. We were about to say grace. I remained standing. I'm not here to join you. No? Mum tilted her head, neck bending at angles that hurt to watch. Then why are you here, sweetheart? To understand, to know why. She smiled, rows of teeth glinting. Why does any species evolve survival? Adaptation. Our family has carried this gift for generations, passing it down, activating it when the time was right. Your father's death activated mine. Mine activated David's. And David activated mine, I finished. But I'm not like you. I don't kill innocents. Innocents. Uncle Roger, who'd supposedly died in a car accident 10 years ago, laughed. There are no innocents, only predators and prey. We just chose which side we'd rather be on. I found another way. Did you? David leaned forward. You think taking the guilty makes you noble? You're still a killer, Marcus. Still a monster. You just dress it up in righteousness to make it palatable. He wasn't wrong, but he wasn't entirely right either. Maybe, I admitted, but I choose who I become, not the hunger, not the transformation, me. Choice, Mum sighed. I tried to give you boys a choice, kept you away from the family, raised you normal, but blood will out, as they say. The change was always going to come. Then why hide it? Because I loved you. For a moment, her face almost looked human again. I wanted you to have as many normal years as possible, to know love, friendship, humanity, so that when the change came, you'd remember what it felt like. You'd retain some piece of who you were. Like you did. She was quiet for a moment. I try, but it's hard. The hunger makes it hard. Each feeding takes a little more humanity away. Eventually, there's nothing left but the hunt. I looked around the table at my transformed family. Each face showed a different stage of that loss. The newer ones still had traces of human emotion. The older ones, their eyes were empty except for hunger. How long do I have? I asked, before I become like them. That depends, David said, on how much you fight it. I gave in quickly. The full transformation took less than a year. Mum fought for almost 5 years before she fully turned. You're trying to find a middle ground. It might last longer, or the conflict might tear you apart faster. I'll take my chances. Will you? He stood, his elongated form unfolding like a nightmare. Because there's something else you should know. The transformation isn't just physical, it's quantum. Each time we feed, we don't just take flesh. We take possibilities, potential futures. We exist across multiple states of being. What does that mean? It means, Mum said softly, that everyone you've killed, everyone any of us has killed, they're not gone. They're part of us, conscious, aware, screaming. The room tilted. I gripped the doorframe as the implication hit me. You mean, every person I've consumed is still alive in here? David tapped his temple. Hundreds of them. Their memories, their personalities, their terror. It's not just transformation, Marcus. It's amalgamation. We don't just become monsters, we become legions. I thought of the dealer I'd killed. Was he in me now, aware trapped? The thought made me stagger. That's the real family curse, Mum continued. Not just the hunger, not just the change, but the knowledge that we're walking graveyards, that our consciousness is a democracy of the dead. Chapter 13. The Voices. I fled David's house for the second time, but now I was running from more than just my family. I was running from the voices that had started the moment Mum revealed the truth. They were quiet at first, whispers at the edge of consciousness. The dealer I'd taken, Rick. His name was Rick, muttering about unfairness, about the dark, about the pain of being digested by something that shouldn't exist. But as the hours passed, more voices joined him. Not new victims I hadn't fed again, but others, older voices, victims I'd never taken. "Hello, grandson," a woman's voice whispered. "I was your grandmother's first, back in 1943. I've been passed down through the generations. Your mother carries me. Now you do too." "We all do," another voice added. "Every victim of the bloodline, inherited like eye colour or height. Welcome to the family chorus." I tried to shut them out, but they were inside me, part of me. Hundreds of them, maybe thousands, accumulated over generations of feeding. Each one aware, each one angry, each one eternal. I understood now why David had seemed so calm about his monstrous nature. When you carry a crowd of the damned in your head, what's a little external horror? Chapter 14, The Bargain. Days passed in a haze of hunger and voices. I locked myself in my apartment, but the dead don't respect walls. They talked constantly about their lives, their deaths, their endless existence inside the family line. Some had been dead so long they'd forgotten their names. Others were fresh, still screaming about the injustice. On the seventh day, when the hunger had become unbearable and the voices had driven me near madness, David appeared in my living room. Not through the door, through the wall itself, his transformed body able to phase between states. "You look terrible," he observed. The voices. "Ah." He nodded sympathetically. "The chorus is especially hard at first, but you learn to tune them out, or better yet, use them. All that knowledge, all those memories. It's like having a library of human experience. It's torture. It's perspective." He settled into my couch, his elongated form folding in ways that defied physics. "But I'm not here to philosophize. I'm here to offer a solution." "I'm listening." "Join us properly. Complete the transformation. The further you change, the easier it becomes to compartmentalize the voices. In full form, you can literally partition your mind. Give them their own space where they can't bother you, and become like you." Is that so bad I'm free, Marcus? Free from human limitations, human morality, human fear. I exist across dimensions. I see colours that don't have names. I experience time as a suggestion rather than a rule. You're a killer. So are you. The only difference is I'm honest about it. I wanted to argue, but Rick's voice was screaming in my head about his kids, his mother, the life I'd stolen. The other voices joined in a cacophony of accusation that made thinking impossible. "Make it stop," I begged. David smiled, too many teeth gleaming. "Come home, let us finish what started. Embrace what you are, and the voices become whispers. Fight it, and they'll drive you mad." Chapter 15, The Final Feast. I held out for 3 more days. 3 days of voices growing louder, of hunger becoming agony, of my body continuing its transformation, despite my resistance. My spine had developed new segments. My fingers could bend backward now, each joint independent. When I looked in the mirror, I saw Dad's face superimposed over mine, then Mom's, then David's, then faces. I didn't recognize ancestors who'd undergone the change, all of us becoming one. On the 10th night, I broke, but I didn't go to David. I went hunting one last time. The city was a buffet of possibilities, but I was selective. I found him in a penthouse apartment, a man whose public face was philanthropy, but whose private computers held terabytes of the unspeakable. The security system that should have kept him safe might as well have been tissue paper to what I'd become. He died badly, but not slowly. I was efficient even in my hunger. As I fed, I felt his consciousness join the chorus, but his voice was different, quieter, ashamed. He'd been a predator too, just a different kind. The meal gave me clarity, strength. The voices dimmed to manageable levels, and I could think again, really think. I understood now what David had been trying to tell me. We weren't just predators, we were prisons. Every person we consumed became part of us, carried forward through the family line. It wasn't murder, it was something worse. It was eternal captivity. But understanding brought its own revelation. If the consumed became part of us, influenced us, then perhaps we could be influenced in return. Perhaps the humanity I was trying to preserve could be strengthened by choosing the right victims. Perhaps I could build a better monster. My phone rang. "Mum, you fed again," she said without preamble. "We felt it through the bloodline. The family grows." "I'm not coming back." "Oh, sweetheart, you don't have to come back. We're already with you. Every Chen who's ever changed, every victim they've ever taken. We're all one organism pretending to be individuals. The physical distance means nothing." As if to prove her point, I felt them then. The family network. Dozens of transformed Chens around the world, each carrying their burden of souls, all connected by blood and hunger. I could sense David in his house mom, wherever she was hiding cousins I'd never met in cities I'd never visited. "Do you see now?" Mum continued. "There's no escaping family, no escaping what we are. You can pretend to be noble hunting the guilty, but you're still one of us, still adding to the collective, still feeding the family organism." "Then I'll be the cancer cell," I said, "the mutation that changes everything." She laughed a sound like breaking bells. "Every generation thinks that. Every one of us tried to be different, but the hunger always wins. The voices always win. In the end, we all become the same thing." "We'll see." I hung up and looked at my transformed hands. Too long, too jointed, too wrong, but still mine, still capable of choice. If I was going to be a monster, I'd be one with purpose. If I was going to carry the dead, I'd make sure they were dead that deserved carrying. If I was going to be part of a family organism, I'd be the part that evolved it towards something better. It wasn't redemption. It was far too late for that. But it was a path forward that didn't end in David's basement, fully transformed and fully lost. Chapter 16. The hunt continues. 6 months passed. The transformation had stabilized into something between human and what David had become. I could pass for normal if I wore the right clothes, moved the right way, kept my mouth closed to hide the spiral of teeth. The voices had organized themselves into a kind of council, the older ones teaching me to navigate my new existence, while the newer ones provided intelligence on the city's hidden predators. I became a legend without a face. The police spoke of a serial killer who only targeted serial killers. The media called me the karma killer, not knowing how literally true that was. Each person I took added their knowledge to mine, their memories becoming my resources. Through them I found others, hidden monsters who walked in human skin, unaware they were being hunted by something worse. David visited monthly, trying to convince me to complete the transformation. Each time he looked a little less human. The thing wearing our mother's face stopped coming after the 3rd month. "You're fighting a losing battle," he told me during his last visit. "The hunger will grow. The voices will multiply. Eventually, you'll need more than just the guilty to sustain you. Then I'll deal with that when it comes." Why make it so hard on yourself? Why cling to humanity when you're already so far beyond it? I thought of Rick's kids who'd gotten their father's life insurance and a chance at college, of the other victims in my head who'd found a strange peace, knowing their killer was using their memories to stop others like him. "Because someone needs to remember what we're supposed to be," I said. David left through the wall, shaking his elongated head. I haven't seen him since. Chapter 17. Evolution's End. It's been 3 years now since I found the teeth in David's freezer. 3 years since my transformation began. The hunger is constant but manageable. The voices are loud but organized. My body is wrong but functional. I've taken 43 lives, each one a predator, each one now part of my consciousness, their memories serving my hunt. Through their eyes, I've seen the dark underbelly of humanity that justifies my existence. Through their knowledge, I've saved hundreds who would have been victims. The family network tries to pull me back. I feel them out there, scattered across the globe, each a node, in an organism that predates recorded history. Sometimes I catch glimpses through their eyes, cities I have never visited, victims I'll never save, transformations I'll never complete. But I've also felt others like me, mutations in the family line, those who hunt with purpose, who try to aim the curse towards something beneficial. We're few, but we exist. Evolution in action. Last week I got a message, not a call or text, but a thought transmitted through the network, from someone claiming to be my great-grandmother, patient zero of our line. I was the first, her voice whispered across impossible distances. The one who made the bargain that cursed us all. But curses can be blessings depending on how they're used. You're learning that. Keep learning, keep evolving. The family doesn't have to be what it's always been. I hold onto that hope as I prepare for tonight's hunt. The voices have identified a new target, someone whose public face hides horrors that make my transformation seem tame. He'll join the chorus by dawn, his memories becoming tools to find others like him. I'm still a monster, still a Chen, still carrying the weight of every soul I've taken, hearing their voices, feeling their presence. But I'm also still Marcus, still making choices, still trying to aim the curse towards something that might in some twisted way be called justice. The freezer in my apartment holds no teeth, no jars of meat, no trophies. But sometimes late at night I hear it humming, calling, reminding me that David's path is always there, always waiting, always easier than the one I've chosen. I ignore it and sharpen my teeth for the hunt. Because if I'm going to be a monster, I'll be one that other monsters fear. Epilogue, the inheritance. Yesterday I found a package at my door. No return address, but I recognized the smell. Family. Inside was a photo album. Pictures going back generations. Chens I'd never known existed, all in various stages of transformation. And at the very back, a note in Mom's handwriting, for when you have children. So they know what's coming, so they can choose like I tried to let you choose. The family continues one way or another, but maybe, thanks to you, it continues differently. Love always, Mum. P.S. David says the spare key is still behind the meter, just in case. I burned the note but kept the album. If I ever have children, a thought that terrifies me more than any transformation they'll need to know. Need to be prepared. Need to understand that inheritance isn't just about money or property or even genetics. Sometimes it's about teeth in freezers and voices in your head and the terrible freedom of choosing what kind of monster you'll become. The hunt calls me out into the night again. The city is full of predators who think they're hidden. They're wrong. I can smell them, all of them. And tonight, one more will join the chorus in my head, their memories becoming my weapons, their consciousness trapped forever in the Chen family organism. It's not justice. It's not redemption. It's evolution. And it never ends.